1 2 1 2. This is my mic. welcome to a brand new season of the Trans Am SVRA Speed Tour. Now, once again, we start our season at Sebring. And in many ways, we're going back to our roots, as this is where the series began some 55 years ago, back in 1966. Now, much has changed over that time, but a lot has stayed the same. And once again, this weekend, Ford, Chevrolet and Dodge will go wheel to wheel in America's longest running road racing series. Now, once again, we have another bumper field of 5 categories racing. And while some drivers have changed category, and of course the liveries have changed, pretty much the same players have come to do battle at America's iconic race circuits. Talking of which, let's take a closer look at the Sebring circuit. To start the 2021 season, the Speed Tour heads to Florida, to the famous Sebring circuit, which is steeped in history, which goes back to 1950. This former US Air Force base is known for its big bumps and big straights. On the infield, through 2, 3 and 4, under the bridge at 6, then into the hairpin up the Fangio straight, another complex at 10, 11 and 12, opening up again in the kink from Bishop through, and then the Ullman straight, followed by the final corner, Sunset Bend, to take you back to the start-finish. 3.74 miles of great racing and great history. Well, there couldn't be a better venue to kick it all off, and once again we'll have all the angles covered as we live stream all the action via our apps, which this year we have exclusive live premium content, so make sure you download either the SVRA and Trans Am app to watch the action with live timing, live onboards, replays, highlights and all the news stories following the series. Now, coming up, we have plenty of action from the Sports Car Vintage Racing Association, or SVRA as we call it, and we've got several groups in action. But first, we have a very special race for you. It's International GT. So, without further ado, I'm going to hot-foot it to the commentary booth and hand you over to my co-commentator and sports car expert, Ben Sissel, down on the grid.
What if they sold tires online?
We do. We're TireRack.com.
They could offer lots of tires and help you find the right tire.
It's called the Tire Decision Guide.
Oh, and they could ship them to a nearby mechanic.
We shipped over 7,000 independent recommended installers.
This is an amazing idea. Sorry.
Visit TireRack.com/Pirelli to find the full line of Pirelli tires. Pirelli, power is nothing without control. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be.
I found a place in my heart. I found a light in the dark. I found my heaven.
The Range Rover Evoque.
So happy to be starting the 2021 season at the Sebring Speed Tour with International GT. And I have the president of International GT. Ken, give us a quick description of this fantastic race group.
Well, International GT is made up of 3 groups, which is the Mission Foods GT3 Cup Trophy, the Maranello Cup for the Ferraris, and the Stuttgart Cup, which incorporates the Porsche Cayman cars. We're so excited to be here as part of this first race of 2021 in the Speed Tour event.
Nice. We've got 1 minute on the grid. We're going to walk through. Come up here with us, Ken. Ken's going to join us in the announcer's booth for this group because he knows everybody. We've got Andy Pilgrim, Tom Prank, Benoit Bergeron, Juan Gonzalez of Mission Foods right there giving us the thumbs up. Unbelievable race car driver Juan Gonzalez with Mission Foods. We're so happy to have him as a marketing partner. I got to get us out of the way because we just got 1 minute on the grid, and these Porsches, these Ferraris are firing up. I think we even might have an Audi out there. We're going to have a great time. 31 cars starting. Mark Sandrich in this beautiful Brumos. Here they come, Tony. Get a shot of this right here. Joe Vardy, legend right here. Joe Party Marty is with Mark Sandrich with the nice Brumos Porsche. I love being down here on the grid, getting some great shots with my buddy Tony, the camera guy. So excited to be starting the 2021 season with the Sebring Speed Tour. Some fantastic cars here. Now remember, this is for the SVRA and Trans Am app. So Johnny, tell them all about how they can get that app. Right now, I'm sending it to you, Jonathan. Happy birthday, Jonathan.
Thank you so much, Ben. Great stuff. While all these cars were being tuned over the winter, we did a special upgrade and tune-up on Ben Sissel. As you can see, the enthusiasm is absolutely insurmountable. That's right, download and subscribe either the SVRA or the Trans Am app, and you can subscribe to our live premium coverage. We'll have plenty of other stuff there as well, highlights, news stories, and feature stories, but it's the place to go to get your fill of both Trans Am and SVRA. Well, as you can see, a massive field, and in a moment the boys will be back to join me. But what I love about this, you just heard Ken Wengler talking about the three different categories we've got here. Effectively the Stuttgart Cup, the Mission Foods GT3 Cup trophy, and then the Maranello Cup. And obviously you've got GT3, you've got the Stuttgart Cup, which stands for the Porsche entries, and of course the Maranello Cup, which stands for the Ferrari entries. One car going a little slow there. That's the number 24. But he's got going, I'm glad to say. Looking down my list as to who that man at the back is. It's Rob Blake. And Rob Blake in his Porsche 991 GT3R. And the white and blue gets away. But as you can see, Juan Lopez Santini following the pace car at the moment as they head down towards the hairpin for the first time. Just warming those tyres and getting ready for the first of what will set off our weekend. And as Ben says, it couldn't be a better place to come. This is where it all began in the history of Trans Am, and it began as a Trans-American Sedan Championship. And the series first held its first race March 25th, 1966. So SVRA and of course Trans Am celebrate with both production cars and tube frame silhouette cars in forms of the TA and TA2. Heading up the Fangio straight then on the warm-up lap. Absolutely perfect conditions. I don't know where you're tuning in around the world, but if you're tuning in from some of the colder parts of the United States, I know how you feel. I've just come from Texas, and this is the place to be in terms of heat, because it's absolutely gorgeous. 75, clear blue skies, not a cloud in the sky. Had a bit of rain yesterday, but it's absolutely perfect. So as we look down on this massive field, it's hard to work out. In fact, I'm just looking at last year's results. William Wax was the winner of the Stuttgart Cup. Ted Giovannis was the Mission Foods GT3 Cup winner, and Benoit Bergeron. And Ben, I just mentioned Benoit Bergeron, but immediately it jumps out of you as being like, oh, who's this guy?
Oh yeah, and he's one of my favorites in the grid. Great guy. I believe he's from Montreal. His first language is French, but he speaks very good English. He always brings me a Canadian flag to fly, and he is our Maranello Cup champion for 2019-2020, and he's starting 2021. But before we get going, Jonathan, I'm out of breath from running. I want everybody to load up our comments and wish Jonathan Green a happy birthday.
Well, I'm as old as the series. That tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, so he's as old as the Trans Am series that started here at Sebring International Raceway. So let's ask you, how old is Jonathan, or what year was he born?
Well, the series started right here on March 25th, sometime in the 60s. in the raging 60s. Now, as they come down the Ulman Straight, 1966 to be exact, but as they come down the Ulman Straight and into Sunset Bend, we're starting to rev up those engines of Ferraris and Porsches. What a glorious sight, what a glorious field. And we're expecting a 30-minute sprint race. Now, while these guys are on our SVRA calendar, these guys go hell-bent for leather, don't they? Oh, what a sound. Away they go then. Heading down towards the first corner here, slight breeze. This is the International GT Series Feature Race 2.
Tom Pank looked on the inside there of Andy Pilgrim, so I think it's going to be Juan Lopez Santini in first, Tom Pank in second, going into turn 3, as that's Tom Pank's son there in that base saver car. And Rob Blake had to start at the back, and he's already picked up about 9 positions. Great stuff. And like I said, we're starting this weekend, Jonathan, with what might be the best racing of the weekend on our live stream. They already had feature race 1, and now this is feature race 2 as we look at Juan Lopez Santini, followed by Tom Pank, but Andy Pilgrim ducks to the inside. Let's see who takes it, Jonathan.
Yeah, Andy Pilgrim, Lopez Santini, into the hairpin they come. And a really good clean start, really impressive actually. No problems for anybody so far, at least I haven't seen all the field go through, but I didn't see anybody spin around so far. So here we go. Starting to spread out now as we head down for the first time to open it up again at 13, the Bishop Corner, and then they'll head down by the airport here. Of course, this was the former World War II Air Force base here in the United States. And then...
That's a great shot right there,
Isn't
Jonathan.
it?
Right in front of the famous Sebring Tower. We have a scissor lift out there. Green light is picking up some great images. And look at this wonderful field. Porsche versus Ferrari. You don't get a more class of race cars right there. Ken Fengler's done a great job developing this group of racers. They have probably more fun than any other race group I've ever seen, with some of the stiffest competition. And Ken Fengler, the owner of the series, is going to join us as Juan Gonzalez passes Ben Bergeron around the outside.
Yeah, that was a nice
turn
move.
17. Bergeron's going to try to get him back on this front straight. Juan Gonzalez, like I said, the owner of Mission Foods. I love Mexican food, and I think about Juan Gonzalez every Tuesday and Saturday as I'm eating my Mission Food chips and tacos. Ken, how great is this racing with International GT at Sebring?
Went off on a safe start and look forward, as I said to them at the first race, this is the perfect day, the perfect place for racing. Don't screw it up. And I said, if there's no pressure on this second race, I said, but not only would you screw up in front of yourself, maybe a couple of crew people and God, but if you do it now, you're on live stream and the whole world will see. So as I said, it looks like they're in for some good racing and some real fun, and that's what it's all about.
Now, one of your fastest drivers, Rob Blake, had to start in the back. I see that he's worked his way up, but what was his reasoning for starting in the back of the field?
There were 3 things that were cold this morning. There were cold tires, cold racetrack, and Rob had a cold brain, okay? And, it happens. Rob hasn't been raced for over a year and a half, and he obviously qualified on the pole, so he had his head down, was ready to do that job, but when it got to the racing thing and butterflies, he said to me, Andy Pilgrim just came up to me and talked to me, and I'm starting next to him. He said, I'm feeling the pressure.
Ah, well, there you go.
Now, this is multi-class racing, so now we're seeing Rob Blake come up to Mark Sandridge in that beautiful Brumos Porsche. With that's actually a tribute to his running mate Joe Vardy with Brumos back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. And that car has all sorts of history. And I'm not sure the whole story, but the car was used actually in the movie of shooting Art of Racing in the Rain, my favorite book of all time.
Yeah, it's a great book.
Which is, so it has, like the drivers and the cars have history also.
Yeah.
Somebody just went wide slightly there on the entry into the Ullman Straight as we see that Brumos car coming down. But at the moment, as they cross the line again, it's Juan Lopez Santini from Andy Pilgrim, Tom Pank in 3rd place, Juan Gonzalez in 4th, Benoit Bergeron in 5th place, Andor Kovacs in 6th place, then Mark Sandridge. And as they cross the line, a few changes. Dave Tuati is in 9th position. Kovacs goes down to 10.
Look at that Dave Tuati car right there. We're focused in on that right there. That thing is day-glow orange with all kinds of different colors.
Dave's certainly a seasoned driver. As I said to him, congratulations to him, because he's not only a driver and a very competent and accomplished driver, but he runs the team, and he's got 5 cars here. Last night at 8 o'clock, they were loading up a car and bringing it to West Palm so they could get the customer up and running, and here he is out on track and won the class in in this morning's first race.
So what's the over-under on Rob Blake taking first place? He's moved up the field. Now he's in fourth. He's trying to catch him, isn't he?
He is, but it's going to take a Herculean effort. Certainly the back part of the field was, with the smaller displacement cars, was a little bit easier. Once he gets up to those top 5, as in a lot of racing, he's going to have his work cut out for him. With Tom Pank, Mark Sanders, Juan Gonzalez, and Andy Pilgrim, it's going to take some work. It won't be given to him.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you think that Juan Lopez Santini is in the best seat in the house, I think he'd argue with that, seeing Andy Pilgrim in his mirror. Andy Pilgrim is a world-famous driver, but very calculating, and he's probably just biding his time back there.
Well, he did that this morning. I watched him, and he was up on the front of the grid, but he just sat back and waited. And as he does, he's the ultimate chess player in racing. He's not playing checkers out there, but he's calculating his moves way ahead of time, and that's what's made him such a successful road racer.
Well, it's exactly as the script wanted to be. Lopez Santini in the Porsche ahead of the Ferrari 458 GT of Andy Pilgrim as they come into Sunset Bend and start to cross the line again. We'll take a look at the gap now between the pair of them. It really isn't. It's half a second. Pilgrim has taken a tenth of a second in that last lap. Elliott Skier is now up to third place over Tom Pank, who's dropped to fourth. Gonzalez still fifth. Sandridge sixth with Joe Vardy and Benoit Bergeron in seventh at the moment.
Yeah, and let me explain this to you, and Ken, you can do it better. Everybody wants to win overall, and you're racing with who's ever next to you. But there's the Maranello Cup, which are the Ferraris. Then there's the Porsche Cup, and there's even some different classes in that, and the Stuttgart. Can you explain that to us? And if you're watching this live, please tell us where you're watching from and who you're rooting for.
Well, pretty simply, as you said, the Maranello Cup is Italian-based cars. We've had Lamborghini, we have just Ferrari, both in the GT3 configuration and the Ferrari Challenge. We have two Ferrari Challenge cars out there in the 458s, okay, so two different classes there. The Stuttgart Cup, two different classes, but Cayman-based, Porsche Cayman-based cars, the older 3.4 liter cars and the 3.8. We have both cars out there. The funny thing about it is the 3.4 cars are well developed and give the first money. We saw that as Will Watts, our defending champion, led for a number of laps over the 3.8. And then finally the Mission Foods GT3 Cup Trophy, a 911 based series. 911 obviously has been, since its inception, has been a race car in 1965, basically. So we've got 3.6, 3.8, 4 liter 4R cars.
Can we talk about the cars? What about the drivers? Where do you get your pool of drivers? It's a massive field, so it's a combination of both professionals, instructors, and what I would call gentlemen drivers, but that's almost rude because these guys go and help out for leather.
Yeah, but I will say we are that gentleman driver type of thing, and we're that middle ground. As I say, we see them on the way up, aspiring to go to real professional racing, and they go there and they do their thing. And at some point they say, well, I'd like to continue, but maybe not at this level of competition. And we see them on the way back down. I just say, as far as club racing, I just say we're a sportsman type of racing on a professional platform.
Benoit Bergeron spins at 17. He hits the bumps right beside. I don't think there was contact. But that's our Maranello Cup champion the last 2 years, now about to be passed by some Ferraris as he tries to get waved around. I think he hit the bumps there, Ken. What do you think?
Yeah, you just saw the back end of that Ferrari step out, and it just came around. He just couldn't hold it. And, of course, he was trying to make that inside pass, so he wasn't able to release the steering wheel and wind out a little bit because he had a car right on his left. So, a bit of divine intervention and luck. And, he cleaned the seat out, right, because he found out adrenaline is really brown there. And away he goes.
We got a car off there at turn 16, it looks like.
Yeah, parked up. I think it's out of harm's way.
Yeah.
It's at the start of the Ullman Straight, but it looks as though it's parked up out of harm's way, as we also see the old Learjet in the background doing its business on the airfield, which still continues today. But we're on the old airfield, the Air Force Base, if you will, from World War II, U.S. Air Force Base. That's how it all started here at Sebring.
Now, Jonathan, I got to brag on my friend Ken here. We've worked together for about 6 years, and I've seen him grow this series. And this is going to sound counterintuitive because you see how hard, like right here,
Mark Sandrich and Juan Gonzalez are racing, how hard they're all racing. But somehow they come together. They had a party last night, and they have the most fun in the paddock. It's like a group of best friends out there racing each other. How did you do that?
Well, again, I think it's kind of it is a group of friends, and I call it kind of the private club. And I said it's not for everyone. And the wonderful thing in sports car racing, there are lots of places you can race. And I'm not saying we're the end all for everybody, but if you enjoy some good, clean racing that you don't want to bang up the car, because we certainly try and focus it that way, but yet have some fun, not only on the racetrack, but in the paddock. As I say, we want sportsman type of racers out on the track, and we want good guys in the paddock. And that's what we're
I would
at.
consider these two battling for first teammates and really close friends. And they hate to lose to each other, don't they?
Well, there you see Rob Blake, car owner of both cars, who loans his car to Juan.
There's our replay of Benoit Berg. I don't think there was
Santini.
contact.
Nope.
Mark Greenberg gave him space, and he just ran out.
And by the way, I can give you an update. Bergeron did come into the pits, just saw him head out, so he's back out on track, but obviously he's lost pretty much a lap.
His team won't be happy, and his wife, I'm sure, is glad to see he's okay.
Yeah, it was. It's just a racing thing. They were going hard, and contact with Mark Greenberg, who's running very, very well this weekend, or anything harder than the cars that are out there.
Yeah.
Got to be impressed with Elliott Skier at the moment. He's up to second place. He's got ahead of Andy Pilgrim. It's Juan Lopez Santini. But look at this battle here. All going off. But a really good run so far by Skier in second. Plenty of traffic out there. There's the number 4 coming through of Andy Pilgrim. And he's in some traffic now as some slower cars now trying to get out of the way. But at the moment, it's Lopez Santini, Skier, Pilgrim, Pank, Gonzalez.
I think that's Rob Blake.
Is it Skier? I mean, it might have been.
Oh, is it him in the car?
It might be Skier in
It
the
might
car.
be Skier in the
Yeah,
car,
I think
Ken's saying.
He's going very, very well.
Yeah.
Not that Rob's a slouch, but Elliott certainly is that one notch up.
So what is Andy Pilgrim right there in that red Ferrari in this long straight thinking? Is he going to let these guys battle it out and try to take it over?
He's just biding his time, enjoying the view, so to speak, and saying, wow, look at those Porsche guys. I'll just sit here. Thank you.
And that was Nicholas Pank there in the number 41. Thomas Pank's son. His other son, Lucas, races with us quite a bit. We never know which son's going to come, but they're both really fast and great drivers.
Yeah, Nicky is new to the sport, so to speak, and so the younger of the two brothers, and bringing him on, and so he's getting his opportunity. I think he tied up his brother in the closet, so he got to use the car this weekend. He's launched back at college, so he doesn't. But he's here enjoying his first race with International GT.
Nice. And Jonathan, you're right. That is Elliott Skier taking first place.
Yeah, he just did a brilliant lap, a 2:01.658 on his third lap. That was pretty impressive, and that's why he's moving so fast at the moment. He is hooning around there at the moment as this field is now starting to spread out dramatically in this 30-minute race, just 6 minutes to go. And we're listening to Ken Fengler, who organizes these guys. How do you get such a huge field? Or, as Ben was saying, is it just
the best racing?
Well,
it's everything that he's built.
I'd say, we're going in year 8, and we were an overnight success. The problem was it wasn't last night. All right, the first 3 to 4 years, it was tough. It was people wait and see. Are you going to be around? What are you really trying to do? And our founder, myself, Bill Riddell and myself just had this vision that we felt it really should work. And here we are with 30 plus cars on the grid after years of having 7 cars and 8 cars. We just stuck with it. I said to Juan Gonzalez, our longtime sponsor and marketing partner for Mission Foods, I said, Juan, the good old days weren't the good old days. It's the new good days. That's what we got going.
That's true, and I got to give a big thanks to Bill Riddell, Mark Sandrich, Colin Cohen, the guys that have been there with you since the beginning and are still there, trudging along. Bill Riddell had an unfortunate incident today and can't be in this race, but we've got some great guys. Ted Giovannis was here, and then you know who I've been impressed with that I hope races with you more is that David Tuati. He had a great showing at Daytona with his group, so did Greenberg. Are you hearing that they're going to do the season more with you?
Yeah, the SpeedTour group out of Connecticut has a number of cars. They brought a few here last year, and we saw them a few races, and David's one of those guys. And he very quietly has done a good job. A number of their drivers are very, very, very well-prepared cars, very well-trained drivers, and those are the kind of guys we'd love to see and that could run for a championship. You know, you never know where the chips will fall at the end of a season. You know, as I say, some consistency, some participation, some decent driving, and some good luck, and you never know.
Mark Sandridge looking on the inside right there of Mark Greenberg, right behind Juan Gonzalez in that Mission Foods car that's new to him. He raced that in 2020, but this is the Mission Foods livery of 2021, that beautiful red with the checkers. We're used to seeing them in blue and white checkers.
So Skier extending that lead at the moment. He's taken it to 2.7 seconds now with just under 4 minutes to go. Lopez Santini holding on to second place. Andy Pilgrim still third. Tom Pack, Gonzalez, Greenberg still involved in that battle. The Brumos car doing a really good job with Mark Sandridge, who you just mentioned there, in seventh at the moment as they go through Sunset Bend again. The most, well, it's a fabled corner here at Sebring, and we've already seen it come to naught with one driver spinning around but no contact, thankfully.
Yeah, as you mentioned, our founder, Bill Riddell, my partner, had a mechanical. Unfortunately, in that first race, you know, things just went wrong. He was putting it on the trailer, a bit disappointed. As though, let me tell you what goes on in the paddock. One of his fellow drivers and participants had a spare car and says, "Bill, do you want to drive one of my car here? You don't need to go home." Offered him his car to drive the rest of the weekend, and Bill said, "Thank you very much." But that's the spirit of camaraderie that's in this paddock. That, you know, as we see, I mean, Juan Lopez Santini wouldn't have came in second place in the championship if Rob Blake didn't give him his car to drive.
Yeah, we just saw that turtle. The Gator car, but it looks like a turtle shell to me. William Watts was our Stuttgart champion the last 2 years. And then there he is, Andy Pilgrim right there in the number 4 red Ferrari. Beautiful car. And how in the world did you get like two of the most iconic classes to race against each other on the track together?
It happened very organically, but I couldn't have planned it. I like to say I planned it that way. But we started with the Porsche deal, and I've done work with Ferrari, you know, over the years. The only two manufacturers I've really worked with in racing is both Porsche and Ferrari. And so I was running a Ferrari group for about 5 years, you know, and I left them, and the customers from there liked what we were doing with the Porsche group. And they came to me and said, "Ken, you know, we'd like you to, you know, is it possible that we could have a Ferrari group with Porsches?" And within 6 months, it came together. We came up with the Maranello Cup. I ran it by Bill. He says, "It sounds like a good deal to me." And that's why, you know, also I mentioned our brand ambassador, Derek Bell, the perfect marriage and match. A guy who was Formula One factory driver in 1968 and later really became of his big fame with Porsche in the factory. So our brand ambassadors, Porsche and Ferrari factory driver.
Love it. And ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you're seeing on our social media, you need to download the Trans Am or the SVRA app to continue this. We're going to give you the end of this race, and then we're going to go to about halfway through, and then we're going to switch over. So you need to go to the wherever you get your apps, the Google Play or the Apple Store, to download the SVRA or the Trans Am app. We're going to be racing all day tomorrow, all day today. And Jonathan, I'm going to give it over to you. We got a minute and a half left of this race, and it's really heating up.
It's heating up nicely as Skier continues to lead. He's now taken a massive lead. And Juan Lopez Santini, I don't think is going to react, as he's now, though, getting into traffic. 24, here he is.
Last to first. Unbelievable.
Yeah, last to first, unbelievable. He has done a brilliant job and didn't expect that to happen at all. But, yeah, that just shows you the skill as we look high and above the famous Sebring circuit. And as we go back in history, because we are going back to our roots this week, just remember the first man to win here was Jochen Rindt, of all people, the man that went on to Formula One. And I think he would be enjoying a race like this.
Yeah, I got to say, Rob Blake, if you're watching this, I'm going to need that in-car video for our International GT social media channels, because that's going to be really fun to watch.
Coming down then, closing stages, and the gap 7.1 seconds now to Juan Lopez Santini. Pilgrim in third. Tom Pank, we've got a park up. That's the 77 of Mark Mattis and Aaron Quine, but he's got it going again. And luckily it's just a spin around. No major incidents. We had that one spin at Sunset and now another one here. We had a car parked up. but really no big problems.
No, you know, for the last 6 years that I've been working with Ken, I've been nothing but impressed with the driver skills and how Ken sometimes can lay down the law with these drivers, but it's really good racing. They have so much fun. If you're interested at all in this kind of modern GT racing, definitely give International GT at internationalgt.net a look. Ken, closing thoughts.
Nope, just thankful that everybody was safe. It was a good race. Thanks for letting International GT and inviting them to be part of this Speed Tour event. What can be better, you know, with Trans Am, SVRA, the car show just packed here, you know, with all those cars on track and spectacular racing here. So we're just very glad to be here. We've got another race tomorrow.
Wait, here it comes to the
One
checker.
more corner to go. Here they come out of the last corner, and here comes your leader with the lights flashing, and it is Elliott Skier who takes the win. And that was superb stuff. Lopez Santini is some way back. He hasn't crossed the line just yet. And Andy Pilgrim, there he is, crosses the line now, as does Lopez Santini. Tom Pank will take 4th place. Mark Reyes in 6th place. Mark Sanders 7th. Jason McCarthy 8th. Geronimo Guzman in 9th place. David Tuati in 10th position. But a great run by Elliott Skier. And I don't know, Ken, it's a surprise to me. Is it a surprise to you?
Well, no doubt. I honestly felt so bad. You know, I don't like to see the pole-sitting car sitting at the back of the grid. You know, our rules are this, but I'll sometimes say, look, you know, these slower cars in the field and so forth, it's not fair for those guys to have to drive the first 3 laps in their mirrors. You know, they're trying to move forward. And I almost went up and say, do I need to spot you on the grid here? And thank goodness I didn't follow through with that. I mean, because look what it did. It created the story of the race.
Looks like Greenberg took it from oh, that's not Greenberg. Okay, so it's Juan Gonzalez and then Sandridge coming in right now. Ken, so much fun to watch this racing. Thank you so much for being a part of Speed Tour. Tickets are still available if you're in Central Florida or if you're out there in 2 feet of snow somewhere else in America. Come on down. We have 480 cars in our car show. That's a record car show, record ticket sales, another great race, your second race of the weekend with International GT. And it just, we have a spin on the outlap.
Look at that. The drone was on it.
Good stuff. Good catch
just
right there.
Before the bridge.
Good job, Mark Sandridge, for avoiding that. And just great racing with International GT. I've been so impressed. Ken, you guys have so much fun. It's been awesome. And I've learned so much from you. Thank you. Jonathan, I started. Oh, no.
That's Mark Greenberg's car.
Yeah, that sure is. But I learned everything from Ken from the podium. The first time I did the podium for Trans Am, I said, I'm just going to have to do a Ken Fangler impersonation.
Well, now you've surpassed me. Now you're on your own, Ben. You got to make up the stuff yourself now.
No fighting, boys.
No, I love watching it. Ken, nice job. This is a great series. So how can people get involved with you?
Well, you know, no doubt these guys have experience in that, but certainly guys who get involved in motorsports from, you know, doing driving days, you know, really that's the best thing is, you know, you come up through driving days and lapping days and club racing. And certainly every manufacturer has a program now. They all do in sports car racing. So,
well, my thanks to both Ben Sissel and to Ken Fangler. A fantastic race 2 for International GT, and it doesn't get any better than that. A brilliant win from the back from the pole man, Elliott Skier, who came through to win by over 8 seconds. Plenty of drama, and we've got more coming your way. Stay with us on our live stream here from Sebring, the home of SVRA and of Trans Am. We'll be back with more in a minute.
Everywhere I look, I see light and shape. And some shapes are just more beautiful than others.
I think about lots of things when I drive. The cost of scheduled maintenance certainly isn't one of them.
The F-Pace.
How Jaguar makes an SUV.
For great offers, visit your Jaguar retailer during the Impeccable Timing sales event.
A marathon coach owner is someone who expects exploration and relaxation to blend flawlessly. For the most reliable, luxurious motor coach on the market today, look no further than Marathon Coach. Indulge that wanderlust, leave any cares behind, and lead a life filled with adventure. Join the Marathon family and take your 5-star hotel with you.
Welcome back, and as you can see, we have all the angles covered. We're on board, we're above, and we are ready for our next bit of action. And I will turn to my learned friend here, who I know is getting excited for what should be our first group race. Group 5A, 7, 11, and 11. What have we got here?
Actually, this is Group 6 and 12A. This is our American muscle cars and our kind of newer, not just American muscle cars. There's some Porsches and Jaguars, but these are the big bore production cars, basically. Group 6 from 1972 or older, then Group 12 is 1972 or newer. And so right there we're looking at Scott Hawley's beautiful Jaguar E-Type. I don't know if there is a prettier car out on the racetrack, but maybe right next to him, Gary Moore in that Cougar. And I got to say this, Gary pulled me aside and told me this weekend, that is the only championship-winning Mercury Cougar that he could find from those years. He won last year our Group 6 championship, and that's a vinyl top Cougar right there. Beautiful Grand Sport Corvette right there. Sorry, I just got lost. I got lost in the beauty of this grid. Jim Heck in that beautiful Corvette. He has really spent a long time, and I wish we could get up close to that thing because the body work that he has done is phenomenal. That should be John Cloud right there in that Boss 302. But ladies and gentlemen, we need to promote the SVRA app. If you're liking what you're seeing, please leave us a comment. Tell us where you're watching from. Tell us what you would like to see more of. But we're at the beautiful Sebring International Raceway. We're going to give you about... I'm going to switch over to the SVRA app. So make sure you go get at the Apple Store or Google Play the SVRA app to finish the rest of the weekend racing with us. Because, Jonathan, it's going to be some phenomenal races with some great fields out here. It looks like we have some smoke. There must be a fire off in the distance because last year or 2 years ago we were here, there were some fires off in the distance that created this haze. And that doesn't look like fog. That looks a little bit more like smoke. As we get great visuals, I got to give it up for my buddy Tony Strollo. She has done such a fantastic job with car shows. She's been working the car shows, started about 5 years ago with maybe 30 here, and now we're at 477 cars as we look down at that beautiful non-painted aluminum Cobra. One of my favorite cars out here. There's another navy blue Cobra out there that's being raced by Jim Farley with what they call a Le Mans hardtop on it. And I asked him about the hardtop yesterday, and he was saying he just likes the look. He doesn't really quite like the look of having a cage, but he loves the look of that kind of aerodynamic hardtop. I'm going to get my buddy Tony to get a shot of Jim Farley in the number 16 blue 1966 Ford Cobra in our Group 6 AP. He should be in the second row.
And Ben, you told me last year that this is without doubt the most popular field or group of SVRA, just because everybody loves the muscle cars.
Yeah, it's the ground-pounding muscle cars. They slide back and forth. There's way too much power to put traction down, so it's great racing. Everybody knows what a Mustang, Corvette, Camaro, Cougar, you know, everybody kind of grew up with that or knew somebody cool one. And there we are. So, like, there's a GT350 right there. There's so much history
That's awesome.
in this paddock as we look down at the grid. So if you're wondering what the grid means, this is where we put the cars in the position that they qualified for their first feature race of those beautiful Hoosier tires. Looking down there, he's waving. You can see that sticker in the windshield, a 63 split window Corvette. How do you know it's a 63? Because it's got the split window on the back. Number 94 Chevrolet Corvette. There's some just really, really cool cars in this. So that's Chris Ronson Sr. Chris Ronson Jr. is also out here. Get a load of this number 241 Jägermeister. That's David
nice.
Hinton. That car was finished 2 days ago, and there he is. There's Jim Farley in that Le Mans Cobra. So look at that Jägermeister right there. That's David Hinton. That's the president of another fantastic vintage race organization, HSR, Historic Sports Car Racing. So if you like this kind of racing, if you think this is for me, you have no excuse. There's like 20 fantastic vintage racing organizations. I happen to think that SVRA is the best, but go find a place to race with. There's Jim Farley in his Le Mans style coupe, Cobra Coupe I'd call it, but it's got that Le Mans hardtop. And Jim, he's so enthusiastic about these cars. Great to talk to. He works at Ford Motor Company, and now here he is out there racing a Ford Cobra with us at a track that has a lot of Ford history.
I was about to say, that's good company work there. It's like, yeah, no, I'm just representing the the Ford name this weekend. Well, where are you doing that? Well, I'm going down to Sebring. Oh, good. And they probably think he's doing a corporate deal. Really, he's hooting around the track in a Ford.
He's racing hard. And there's another one, Heritage Motorsports, Porsche, David. So they built some really fantastic sports cars out there. And what a great mix of cars as we're looking down at that Devon of, I think that's John DeGaynor in that number 111. John DeGaynor was our Group 4 winner.
Am I right in saying that is the oldest car we have here? It's a 57.
I think so. There might be a MG that is a little bit older.
When I looked at the original start list, I was like, 1957. That's about one of the oldest cars out here. So watch out for the Devlin.
So if you're wondering what a Devon is, basically that's a 327 Corvette engine. That's why he's in Group 6. Beautifully prepared car. That's actually his father's car, but he's a really good driver, really fast. But basically Devon makes those bodies, and you could put them on Jaguar chassis, Corvette chassis, MGs, but they're really cool looking cars.
You know, and if I told an artist this was one of 15 in the world, or one of 15 ever produced in the world, they'd be like, well, why isn't there a security guard there?
Yeah.
It's like, but we're racing it.
Yeah, that's what they were meant to do. That's what we love about vintage racing is, these cars look like show cars up close, and we really do appreciate the time and effort, the preparation that these men and women put into these cars, but really appreciate the show that they put on here at the Sebring Speed Tour. So again, if you're enjoying this show, please go download the SVRA or Trans Am app, and you will get to watch all this racing, because we're going to cut out about halfway through, and if you want to see the end of this race, you got to check it out. And we didn't even get to see pole position is Scott Borchetta in that 1969 Chevrolet Corvette. He was our Group 6 winner last year and Group 10 winner. Then Phil Lasco in that first Ford Mustang from 2013, Jonathan.
Just to clarify, it's not in the middle of the race. We're going to obviously go to the end of the race.
Then love it.
Yes, we
Good
wouldn't do
stuff.
that. But definitely start doing it now, guys. You can watch this race, but download the app, and then you won't miss a thing. And we want you to stay with us all day long, all weekend long, in fact. We're really looking forward to you being with us for the weekend and throughout the season. We've got some iconic tracks, some iconic races to be at, as well as watch on our live stream. So we want you to be part of both of our acts.
Scott Borchetta, the legend from Nashville, my hometown. And I'd like to get a good shot, Tony, if you don't mind, of those flags and banners. We've added so many great new sponsors to SVRA, Speed Tour, and Trans Am. You can see the Hoosier flags.
You spent most of the week putting those
up.
up.
I've got blisters on my fingers from putting up all the flags and banners around. And it used to only take me about 4 hours. But as we add these great sponsors and marketing partners, it takes me all day.
Well, I'm glad you're happy with your flags. But I want to tell you about the lightning bolt on Scott Borchetta's car that we just saw there, the 68. He started as a karter, like all of us do, but he was a big Unser fan, and he loved Johnny Lightning. He loved the old concept of Johnny Lightning, and that lightning bolt on his car is in, deference to him, and obviously he's had that lightning strike logo on all of his cars ever since, and he sent me a picture of him karting as a little kid with the little Al Unser lightning bolt there, so...
Yeah, it's funny, talking to the men and women in this field. Scott Borchetta and Jim Farley, I think they could go head-to-head as the most enthusiastic people in the paddock. Scott and Jim just love racing. And I asked Scott at Road Atlanta last year, because we added so many new events to our schedule, if he was upset by how many events. He's like, no, I'd like to race every...
Well, he usually does about 2 or 3 races to Scott. And Scott also, incidentally, is one of the big backers and big organizers of the street race in Nashville, Tennessee, coming up later in the year. And as being somebody from Tennessee, I know there's a big buzz about it, right?
Music City Grand Prix tickets are now available. If you want to go to that street race in downtown Nashville, right in front of Titan Stadium, go Titans. And it's going to be a fantastic event with TA2 and IndyCar and SRO. Scott Borchetta and Justin Marks, who are both racing here this weekend in Trans Am and SVRA, are owners of that. But look at this field of cars. Ladies and gentlemen, leave a comment on our Facebook or social media channels of what cars are your favorite in this group and who we need to focus on, and we'll do our best as we look at that beautiful Jaguar E-Type. Now, it's funny because I'm obviously American. I'm about as American as it gets, and I love the British cars. You don't seem like an American, and you love the American iron, don't you?
It's funny. It's what you grow up with. It's what your TV is. You probably watched all the, you know, all the Jaguar E-Types going around with all our crime investigation stories, and we watched, you know, Steve McQueen hooning around in a muscle car. So
Good
yeah.
stuff.
It's each to his own. The 66, and we're getting a really good view of all of these wonderful cars.
3 minutes on the grid.
Wallow
I'm just so
Burt
excited to
Singer.
get back to racing, Jonathan.
Oh, I know, and also when you see these overhead shots, isn't it amazing to see how many people are here to enjoy it? It's a beautiful day, mid-70s, low 80s over the weekend. We're not expecting any rain, but you never know. Corvette Stingray getting ready to go out. These are so well prepared too. That's what I love about these cars. They're immaculate.
We've got somebody watching from Beat Gubler from Switzerland. Thank you for joining us. Good stuff. Anderson, Indiana. We had somebody whistling in our ears. That was pretty cool.
I don't know what that was.
So thanks everybody for watching. Chris Zappa. Tell us where you're watching from, ladies and gentlemen, and make sure you go to the app and download the SVRA app as we look at that beautiful number 82 car. There's some great cars. So I'm going to put you on the spot, Jonathan. What's your favorite that you've seen on the grid so far?
I'm going to make you laugh now because I think that E-Type is superb.
So we got 2 votes for the E-Type so far.
Little bit of a breeze here, but it's actually cooling things down as we get ready to go out for the first of our group race for SVRA, and it is Group 6 and 12A. These are the mighty muscle cars of yesteryear. Some of them newer than others.
Just got word from Roger McLaughlin that he's watching from the Arctic, from Houston, Texas, which is the Arctic right now.
It is the Arctic.
Yeah. Wheeling, West Virginia. Ed Evans. Thomas Young is in Wilmington, North Carolina. Thank you guys so much for watching this with us. I can't even say Irondequoit, New York, from Dave Price. So, Dave, you're going to have to spell that phonetically for us. I'm not smart enough to be able to know what that says. But thank you guys for joining us. Now, who are you rooting for? Which one of these drivers, which one of these cars is your favorite? Tell us all about it.
Dave Hinton's got a beautifully prepared Porsche 911. I'm looking out for him. Obviously, Scott Borchetta leads the way in that beautiful car that he's prepared just behind the pace car.
I tell you what, if you're a fan of the Jaguars, you need to follow David Hinton on social media because he finds these barn finds of these E-Types and 120s, and he fixes them up to perfection. It's really fun to watch.
This is another big field. Really impressive.
There is that Cobra right there of Jim Farley. Look at that thing. He's swerving. He heard me say his name, so he's like, I'm going to show off a little bit here.
I have to say, I do like Scott Holly's Jaguar XKE as well. That's my other one, but that's 2 British cars. Robert Bowden in the Devon. Ryan Special.
That's a beautiful car, too. And then you should, if you were in the paddock, which, you know, you can walk around the paddocks, he's got a beautiful Ferrari in there with us. And the car that he drives every night to the hotel is a 1960s Jaguar Mark II in perfect condition, but that's his daily driver at the track.
Ha, perfect. Well, we're about to go racing for 2021. It seems a long time ago that we were here in 2020, pre-COVID. Yes, I'm going to say it. Pre-COVID,
like,
last year.
It does really seem like a long time ago because it was right at the beginning of everything. We were kind of ignorant to it at that point. And then a week later, the world pretty much fell apart. And we did everything we could. I got to give Tony Perella and John Claggett credit because we had some great races in 2020 despite what was happening. And now here we are, everybody's social distancing and wearing their masks, but we're back to racing in 2021.
Yep, and as we look high above the Sebring circuit, we get ready for our Group 6 and Group 12A racing. As Scott Borchetta leads the pack behind the safety car. Phil Lasco behind him in the Ford Mustang. Then the Ford Mustang Coupe of Jeff Lindstrom in the 68. Dave Hinton, who I mentioned, in that Porsche 911 in the all blue. Scott Holley in the Jaguar XKE. Gary Moore. I want to hear more about that Mercury Cougar. Gary Moore, certainly one of the favorites in that 1968 Mercury Cougar. Can't miss it, there it is. Can't miss it.
I'm going to challenge our camera operators to try to zoom in on his rear license plate. I think our audience will get a kick out of what's on his rear license plate if we can get a quick shot of that.
Man, you give Tony a hard enough time. Don't give everybody else a hard time, man. You're the talk of the town in the bar, I tell you. That's what it is. You're a fellow cameraman, so you're just you're doing the challenge, aren't you? Look at that view.
Yeah,
looking off into the distance over the orange groves. Came through the ball last night with my man Super Tom. And we saw strawberries, we saw, I think, some cherries, but mainly oranges. And you're going right through the heartland, the farming heartland. Really, really impressive.
Yeah, all those orange trees that just look like you could just go pick one up and eat it.
Well, you know,
unbelievable.
Some of them are so, because they kind of vary them in their growth times. But some of them, as we went by, were literally dropping oranges to the ground.
Yeah.
Down the Almond Straight then, under safety, and here comes the safety car to pull out of the way. Nice. That will leave Scott Borchetta to lead this group. The much more modern Ford Mustang from 2013. Look at that, 69 versus 2013. I'll bet you Scott's got the better of him, though, before the end of the straight. We're about to find out as we go racing for Group 6 and Group 12A as they come into Sunset Bend. And in a moment, they'll accelerate away and past our commentary position. Ben Sissel alongside me, Jonathan Green, as we get ready for our SVRA coverage. And the green flag waves, and away they go. Scott Borchetta got a good run down the inside and will lead this race. He now comes across to close the door. And a good start from the Mercury Cougar 2 of Gary Moore. He's up there.
It doesn't get much better than this. Look at this field of cars coming through as they come up to turn 3, a very difficult turn 3. We've had a lot of people misjudge that as Scott Borchetta takes the lead over Phil Lasco. I can't tell who that is. Looks like Scott Holley is in 4th.
Yeah, I think my man on the Cougar, the Mercury Cougar,
Gary Moore.
Gary Moore.
Powered up through there. Good job, and Gary Moore. Look at that beautiful Cougar, followed by Jeff Lindstrom in that white Mustang.
So everybody down to the hairpin for the first time. And a really good start from the 63 of Scott Holley.
Yeah, but watch out for Damon DeSantis right there in that kind of robin's egg blue Porsche, because now they're in the twisty bits, and it's going to work out to the Jaguar and the Porsche's favor here.
At the end of the Fangio
Lindstrom
straight,
looks
turn
inside
10.
at Gary Moore.
Yeah, you can start to see the field spreading. And that's the one thing that the drone has really changed our race coverage for, allowing you to see the gaps physically rather than just on the timing. And that's a big point, an important point. They turn through 13 and now open up these big engines again. There's that Cougar I mentioned. Can't see his
Gary
license
Moore,
plate there.
final top Cougar. But now we've got a couple more turns that work in the favor of the Jaguar and the Porsche. But then that Mustang and the Cougar down this long straight are probably going to try to pass. Watch for Gary Moore to try to make a diving pass into 17 to get cars that are a little bit more nimble.
So here they come down the Almond Straight then for the first time. Scott Borchetta in that white and red Corvette from 69, excuse me, leading the much more modern Ford Mustang from 2013. And then comes that lovely little car.
Look at Scott Holley lock up his brakes just a little bit, coming in.
Well, the same again for the 66 as well, under braking Wallo Berchinger.
Yeah. Wallo, man, you can really see his hands working in there. He's got his hands full coming around turn 17, which is really bumpy.
Very wide entry there for that Porsche that you mentioned, the all light blue Porsche. And here comes the 66, as I mentioned, coming through into turn 1 now.
Well, it's showing that light blue car is David Hinton, which would make sense. David's a really good driver. I'm not sure who's in his Jägermeister car. I called that wrong earlier, but that is, right now the score is telling us that's David Hinton in that 0-0. As we look at Scott Borchetta here, you can really see the gap that he's pulling just a little bit. He probably has a little bit more horsepower than Lasko, but then Lasko has the brakes with that more modern machinery in that 2013 Ford Mustang.
Yeah, and you see the hairpin there. It's not as tight as it may look on the map, but you can see how quickly they slow down. Ooh, a bit of sideways action there in the 66. But he gathers it all together, Wallow. But from this angle, it looks a lot tighter. But when you see it from above, it just opens up a bit at the exit. That's why they just bounce over the dirt there, down towards the Fangio straight again, up to turn 10. And then we look on the infield again.
Well, according to my scoring, he's driving 2 cars at the same time.
That's pretty impressive.
It is. Good job. More drone shots right there, the camping. There's that beautiful Jägermeister. 2 cars that have just been finished. James Heck in that 64 Corvette. And then there's that Jägermeister Porsche that really shows up really well. And now these Porsches have the advantage the next 3 corners over that Corvette. And James Heck keep them behind us as we look at John DeGainer and John Cloud coming up through Bishop's Bend. I love these drone shots. You really get a good feel for what all's happening here at the Sebring International Raceway for the Sebring Speed Tour. Do you have a favorite corner of this track, Jonathan?
Well, I was just saying, this is the trickiest part, I think, by the airfield, where they come into this long straight, and it's very high speed before they hit the Ullman straight, which of course is just flat out before you hit Sunset Bend, which they're coming into now. But yeah, I would have said the trickiest part of this circuit is alongside the airfield there, the current airfield, and then they go back onto this Ullman straight part of the old airfield, and then down into Sunset. But that to me, certainly, as we look at Damon DeSantis in the Porsche 911, the yellow and black, as they cross the line again. The gap, Scott Borchetta now has built just under a second of a gap to Phil Lasko, so it's still a very good race indeed. Scott Holley now 3rd, Jeff Lindstrom in 4th place, Gary Moore drops to 5th, David Hinton in the 00 is in 6th place. Wallow Bershittingham, we saw him in the 66 earlier, getting a little bit squirrely, but James Heck behind him in 8th. Ron Maiden in 9th position, and Damon DeSantis, the man I mentioned a moment ago, is in 10th at the moment, just ahead of John Cloud. Now, is Mrs. Cloud out there?
Debbie is racing with us in Group 10 in a modern TA2 car, but John Cloud is going to be racing with us in Group 6 in that Grabber Blue Boss 302 with Cobra Automotive. He's racing in Group 10 against his wife in a TA2 car, and then he's racing TA2.
I was about to say, how many of these drivers, I mean, we've got, over, 300 or 400 cars out. How many of these drivers do swapsies?
I'd say probably 10 to 15% race SVRA and Trans Am, and I'd say probably 10 or 15% race more than one car over the weekend.
So then, 10 minutes to go. Scott Borchetta's got a healthy lead. He's got it less than a second, though, so he's not out the woods by any means, but he's doing a really good job. I said from the start of this race he needed to get a good run on the much more modern Mustang that he's up against. Like you said, where the new Mustang from 2013 has the advantages under braking, of course.
I got a good story about Jonathan DeGainer right there in that Devon that we just saw. That is his dad's car. John usually races another Group 4 Devon with us, and his dad fell under some bad health last year, so he's racing that in honor of his dad. His dad is fine now, so we really appreciate that. Nice job. But Jonathan's a great racer. Like I said, he's our Group 4 champion from a few years ago.
High above the Sebring. I tell you what, getting an RV and heading out into the infield, where that RV is in the middle of your shot right now, that's a perfect spot to be. I've stood there before, and it's nice to banked up there, so you can see them coming through the complex at 3, 4, and then under the bridge at 5, and then down to this hairpin. And of course, the hotel is right by there, the sort of on-site hotel. So a lot of the drivers will try to stay there, but it's got a premium in terms of everybody wants to stay there, so you've got to book early if you want to stay at the actual circuit itself.
There's Hugh Booker right there coming around 17. And I'm honored to say that one of my favorite Group 6 drivers, Todd Trefford, is watching us. He drives an unbelievable Porsche 911. Wish he was here, but if you go to our Facebook, you can look at some footage of him We're going to be loading up here from a few years ago, one of the best races we've had. As we look at Tursilla right there, can Jim Farley from Ford Motor Company pass a Ford Mustang? Is he allowed to do that, ladies and gentlemen? He's got two Mustangs in front of him. I'm not sure that the company will allow him to do it, but of course they will, because he's a racer. And Ford is all about motorsports and racing. Happy to have them here. This is our Group 6 and Group 12. Again, we've got about 9 minutes left in this race. Please go and download the SVRA app or the Trans Am app to get some great racing all weekend long at the Sebring SpeedTour. Record ticket sales, almost doubling our car show attendance. Thank you, everybody involved.
Yeah, our car show, 407.
There it is, Jim Farley. Look at that car. I
Look
love
at him
the
work
lines
the wheel,
of that.
too.
You can see him really getting the wheel. He says, Dan Gurney for president. Smoking a little bit. I don't know if that looks like it might be some fuel cell venting. I'm not sure if that was smoke or not. But here we go. These two race together. The white Mustang and the red Mustang are part of Griffin Motorsports. Billy Griffin was our GT champion last year in Trans Am. He's brought these two along that are running in SVRA. And I don't think there's any team orders with Griffin Motorsports, so let's see if they can get around each other.
Great looking car. Okay, I changed my pick. I want that. That's the car I want. James Dolan.
Yeah, James
you won't see me nick it.
And that
GT350.
GT350, beautiful car. I think that's actually his son's car.
Now,
Peter,
come on, this
James
was built in
in
'66.
Yeah.
Now, surely shouldn't I have dibs on that?
You should. You know, you should go tell him, and maybe he'll wrap it up in a bow and say, "Happy birthday, Jonathan."
There you go.
Maybe if you convince the camera guys to just stay on him all race.
So we're watching our action from the first of our SVRA group races here for the first round from Sebring. Ben Sissel and Jonathan Green bringing you the action from SVRA, and of course coming up later we have qualifying for Trans Am, and we've got two great races. Quite a few changes this year, and great to see champions like Ken Thwaites taking on the TA class this year. Heard from him earlier, and he's learning. He's like a sponge at the moment. But the man who won the first ever XGT Championship will be taking part in TA. And there's several more stories we'll bring you up to date with all that action later in the day. But it's Porchetta, Lasco, Holly, Moore and Lindstrom. That's your top 5 in the Group 6 and 12A battle. And here's that lovely painted Porsche, the light blue. Suspension to be given how bumpy the track is. And there's my car. I say that my car. That's the one I've got my eyes on now.
Stephen Coleman right there in his Group 6 TA. What TA means is Trans Am. That means that the car was built to Trans Am specifications back in the day. We all know that one of the heydays, I feel like there's 3 heydays of Trans Am. We're living in one right now, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Then there was the kind of Dorsey, Schrader, Tommy Kendall era, and then there was the era of the 1966 to 1972 of the pony car wars, and that car was built to those specifications right there. We've got Scott TA2 driver in the lead in his EP Corvette, battling against Phil Lasco, who's raced in the TA2 series years ago with us. And he switched to SVRA. So there's a lot of back and forth in this. And Todd Treffert, if you're watching, you'd be right up there mixing up front with him. We miss you out here. Hope you can come to some events this year. And who's in that Corvette right there? I can't see that.
John Miller.
That car really swung out there wide on the hairpin. The number 11 John Miller Corvette.
You know, I often get asked about, you know, Trans Am, and we got 5 categories, and they're like, why do you have production cars in your Trans Am series? That doesn't make sense. And I'm like, you know what? If you know the history, it does, because it was started as a Trans-American Sedan Championship, and a lot of the cars you're looking at right now were some of those forebears to what Trans Am all began. And of course, when you see the Porsches and you see the Jaguars out there, the reason Trans Am took off was it was to beat the European cars, which were making such inroads into the American scene of racing. The more nimble, the smaller Porsches, and they said, forget that, let's build our own and put some muscle car in it, put some muscle to it.
Well, that's a beautiful Porsche right there, piloted right now by scoring by David Hinton as we look, here it is. Jim Farley has passed Hugh Booker right there from Griffin in that white Mustang. We do have a lot of Fords in the field right now.
That's a beautiful car too, that car number 5 of Stephen Shoddy in the Shelby Cobra, the all-silver Shelby Cobra that just went through shop.
It's not even silver, it's aluminum.
Yeah.
No paint on that car, I love it.
66 coming through shot. We've been talking about him throughout this race. And Wallow Birchinger in the Chevrolet Corvette Grand Sport.
That's Fred Beasley right there in his Group 12, 5th in 12 MP.
Pretty little Porsche.
22nd overall. Yeah, I love the lines of the Porsches. And I love the fact that since the 356, even to today, the lines are basically the same.
I was about to say, that's the one thing that you can tell. People talk about the evolution of cars and how they change. Well, the Porsche 911 effectively has literally been the same basic shape forever. And in terms of performance, it hasn't dropped a notch.
Look at that. I love the looks of that car. That looks like a proper British sports car. Robert Bowden right there. He's also driving a Devon with a 327 engine. That's why he's in Group 6. Does look to have skinnier tires than DeGainer. But man, what a beautiful car. As we did get the last lap, RC and race control just gave the last lap as Bowden gives Scott Borchetta the look around those S's, the twisty bits as they come under the new bridge at Sebring.
Well, while we've been taking a look at the whole field, Scott Borchetta has been pushing hard. He's taken a 5.7 second lead over Phil Lasco in the number 98 Corvette.
Now watch this, because there's Jeff Lindstrom with Griffin Motorsports. There's 4 of those cars out here with us this weekend, but 1 in Trans Am. I think Gary Moore has used up his tires a little bit, and Lindstrom's trying to get in there. And then there's Jeff Hawley just in front, really trying to make it through with that beautiful Jaguar E-Type. But man, this is some great racing here in this mixed class. Now that Cougar is a Group 6 car. Lindstrom is in the group. There is our Group 6B production current leader, Scott Borchetta in the 98. Last year he was here. He shared driving duties with Bobby Labonte in that car in our Enduro. He's out here racing it. And actually his teammate in his NASCAR team, he bought a NASCAR team in the Xfinity Series, is racing, I believe today, Jade Buford at Daytona. So let's all root for Jade Buford with the Big Machine Vodka, Scott Borchetta's team in the Xfinity Series in the Daytona road course.
Yeah, Big Machine, of course, a big sponsor now, both in the Nashville Grand Prix and also in NASCAR at Indianapolis. And several, you'll see the name in several NASCAR entries as well. So they've been a big follower of motorsports. But Scott Borchetta is going to take another Group 6 win. How many championships has he won in Group 6?
This will he's won 2 championships, I believe, in Group 6. He just started road racing just 3-4 years ago. I've never seen somebody get so good, so fast. Congratulations, Scott Borchetta, Dylan, and the whole Super 98 Customs team.
Scott Borchetta then wins our first race of SVRA for 2021. And he comes across the line ahead of Phil Lasco in the Ford Mustang from 2013, the all-red entry, picking up some dirt and debris at the end there. And Scott Hawley it is in the tiny number.
He's going to come around here pretty soon.
63.
Let's see how wide he gets.
Yeah. We're just waiting for him as he will come around Sunset Bend.
Oh, we got a replay here.
Yeah, the door was flying open.
Actually, that's Scott's air brakes. He was a little bit too hot into there, so he put out his flaps.
He put out his flaps. Well, he was ready. He was ready for his interview with you, so he was just getting the door latch ready. He wanted to leap out.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Scott Borchetta, a legend in Nashville. He's got so many great music artists on his label, Big Machine Records, Big Machine Vodka. Now he's got a new Big Machine Spiked. But as we've seen, one of the hardest workers in our paddock to get good at road racing. Congratulations, Scott Borchetta.
He's also providing all the hand sanitizer we use, and they have their own hand sanitizer process. Yeah. So that concludes our first race, Group 6 and Group 12A, and that also wraps up our live stream. We want you to for now go down and subscribe to our apps and download them and subscribe and join us for the rest of the day's coverage. But that puts in the books our first race of the day. Download the app and join us in a moment. Scott Borchetta wins the first race of 2021 with Phil Lasco in second place and